learning so much about how to listen even more clearly to my own experiences, to what's going on right in front of me, to
Right.
the big picture. And it's fun and it's exciting to just simply continue expanding the ability to listen and the
Yeah.
clarity from it. And it's just all these discoveries of, oh, that's what this is about. Oh, and here's the bigger picture. Oh, and here's the bigger picture. And doing it in such a gentle way where there's nothing to achieve with it.
Yeah.
It's
You're just hearing and listening and learning.
because that's what's available.
Mm. Yeah, but you've got to be present and you've got to be in the right mindset or the right place to listen, because it's
Yeah.
so easy for that stuff to pass you by and you miss it.
Yeah. What's the right mindset? Like, what do you mean?
Open.
Yeah.
I found myself recently in a very calm, still, waiting place. And I don't waiting, I'm not nothing in particular, but it's a case of all of the stuff that I've learnt and has experienced is all there, ready to be touched and taken, no problem. But I also know there's so much more.
Mm,
And so for me, the place to be is just here
mm,
and see what presents itself and be in that place to hear it, because sometimes it can be very subtle. It can
right.
be something quite small and you think it's insignificant, and like you said, you look back and go, oh my god, that's what that was all about. So yeah,
Yes.
I really get that.
It's funny too, isn't it, sometimes where the things that seem really insignificant still come with this feeling of, well, I know it's like, why am I paying attention to that? And the mind says, oh, no, 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 that's nothing, blah, blah, blah. But there's still this feeling about it, like, huh, huh. And I think the more courageously, I think we are willing to not know the answers and to not know what it's all supposed to mean, and to just say, like, all right, well, that happened, next, you know,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
that's when we're available to feel the little tap on the shoulder that says, hey, pay attention to this tiny itty bitty little thing. Don't worry about what you're going to do with it, just notice that that happened, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
And it's, yeah, it's the most fun ever to be in that game.
And I think you said something very powerful there, which I am very guilty of, and that's trying to make sense of everything straight away. Just
Yes.
trying to go, oh, that's because bar, and that, you know, that ties in with that.
Yeah.
And it's okay, you can do that. There's no problem. But
Yeah.
you might find then a week, 10 weeks, a year down the line, you go, oh, actually, that wasn't that. And if I jump too quickly, I miss, because I've
Right.
gone down a pathway and I don't see the nuances that are out there.
Yeah, totally. Because you go down the path of, oh yeah, I know this, I got this.
Yeah.
It's something familiar, so I'm running with it. And
Hmm.
that's why people, and lots of other teachers talk about, and guides and coaches and healers and everybody's talking about, you stay in the unknown, let
Mm.
yourself live in the unknown rather than the familiar. But it takes a little bit of experience to do that. It takes some courage, and it takes diligence, it takes commitment.
Oh yes, oh yes. I found through my experiences, starting years back now, it always seems the universe throws me something
Yeah.
that can be quite amazing,
Yeah.
but it's like, right, I've shown you that, now move on. And it's
Yeah.
never a place of stay in that. And don't try and do that again. You don't need to see that again. You've
Right.
got it up there, now move on. And
Right.
that's happened so many times.
And it's so hard for humans, bless our hearts. Our little minds are like, whoa, I figured it out. This is awesome. I'm going to make it happen again and again and again. And we get all,
Yeah.
proud of our party tricks. And really, like you just said, the answer is, hey, good job. Now
Now
let's
move
keep
on.
going.
Yeah, yeah. I so agree, because there's been some awesome experiences I would so love to do again, just because I really enjoyed them.
Yeah.
No way. Just won't happen. And I've got to that mindset now. Fine, thank you very much. And I can remember them, the ones that are really awesome. It's like yesterday. So I'm never going to lose that. So I don't need it. But so often it's almost like a slap around the face. It's like, right, you've got that. Psh, go. I go, okay, I've got the message.
I love it. I've been having lots of conversations lately about intuition, and
Oh,
um,
lovely. Yeah.
and letting the conversation open up. Like, what is it? The big question of how do you trust it? And
Yeah.
what
Oof,
you're
yes.
talking about right now, of like, that happened, now move on, is so pertinent when we're using our intuitive ability with the animals or with each other, for ourselves. Um, and so the place that this conversation keeps bringing me back to is the clarity that your the intuitive capacity and intuitive information isn't asking us to get it right. Like, correctness is not the point of intuitive
Mm.
information.
Yeah.
Intuitive information presents to help you take the next step in the direction you'd like to be going,
Yeah.
right? And whereas if you're trying to achieve something, then achievement asks for correctness. Like, I have this goal, I want to achieve this goal, it must look like this, it must have these parameters. So there is going to be correctness there. And that's how most of us were taught, right? But into intuitive capacity, communication, connection, creation isn't really asking for correctness.
No, it's asking you to listen. And I think the two other things that for me come in there are integrity and authenticity,
Yeah,
because you get the intuition, and instead of, like you're saying, it has to be correct, but even if you haven't got a goal in mind, I need to achieve something, if you take the next step in the best possible way you can, that's all anybody can ask. And if
right.
10 seconds later you learn that next bit of information, that's fine. You didn't know it 10 seconds ago. And I think it's a really useful tool to have, to not beat yourself up, because it's so easy to look back and go, oh God, I should have done it like that. But you didn't have the answer. You didn't have that information. You didn't have that knowledge. So the intuition is that guide to the next step. And it's to not be afraid to take it, because you don't have all the knowledge.
Right. Because the moment you take the next step, there will be the next opening of intuitive guidance, or the next
Yeah.
feel, or the next feel, or whatever it might be. But yeah, the not being afraid is a tall order for a lot of people.
Yeah, it is, because we judge ourselves and we feel judged.
Hmm.
And this is where, your teaching of no judgment, that's come into so much of my life now, very strongly, from following on from what you've taught in that the course I did with you. Amazing. Don't get it all the time. Oh no. But
You and me both, sister. Like,
I
there's,
try, but
yeah,
don't always succeed. But it's
yeah,
so powerful, because then this is where you're talking about the ease and the quietness. All of that jumble is gone, because you
hmm,
don't have to think, oh, that's right or that's wrong. It just is,
hmm,
and it's appropriate or not for you. End of.
yeah.
So
Well, sorry.
just find it very powerful.
Yeah, there's a feeling to it. There's a presence. Like, this is why I love the word, the absence of judgment. Like, feeling the absence of something is a different bit of guidance than saying don't judge.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And yes, it's subtle, but it's huge at the
It's
same time.
huge. It's huge, because one is the don't judge is, if you like, a command, which then you feel I've got to do it or not. But absence, as you said, is a feeling.
Yes.
It is not there, so I don't have to do anything. It's
Yeah.
just I step into that. So it's easier in that respect.
Yeah. And it's an acknowledgement that that it already exists. You know, how
Yeah.
many people say, oh, everybody's going to judge, Carrie, you know, it's impossible to not judge. And, you know, okay, it's, you know, uncommon, but to offer the vocabulary and offer the suggestion, the creation of the absence of whatever you find yourself in conflict with,
Yeah.
you just created the space to potentially discover it and experience it, you know, like even when we tune into our own bodies and just consider this phrase and the creation of the absence of conflict. It doesn't mean you're responsible for all the details and making conflict stop. It
Yeah.
means you've just given yourself the gift of the existence of the absence of conflict. And once you acknowledge that, like, it exists.
Yeah,
So
exactly. You've created it. And I think the very important word you said there was space, creating the space. Because so much of this work, this time we're in, is about creating that space of where to step into. So with the intuition, it's what is my next step? What space am I creating to go forward?
yeah.
And then, as you said, it could be an absence of conflict, an absence of judgment, but it's allowing yourself to do that. And I think when you step into that with integrity, doing it the best way you can, that's all you can ask of yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The awareness, right? This is me. This is how I roll. Here's my current awareness. Let's go.
Yeah.
And more and more too, it's becoming so evident that the knowing why I do what I do is so valuable. And that can be scary too. It asks some people to realize that why they do what they do is for domination and control, you know, and that can be scary to look at. But in the absence of judgment, I can say, oh, look at me. I'm trying to manipulate this situation because I'm scared. Look at that.
Yeah.
Not that I would have ever done that.
Me neither, of course.
Yeah, of course. No, you and I accepted, of course.
There's my halo, and it's just slipped around here.
So, because we are going to be sharing this with other people, would you introduce yourself? Because we just dove right in, and so I'll just say this is my dear friend and colleague Kathy Price, and she lives in the UK and does work with bringing people to horses, and I don't know, maybe other animals as well, to assist and facilitate intuitive capacity, clarity. You take it from there, please.
Yes, I'm a scientist by training. So for many years it was unless you can measure it, prove it, and explain it, don't come near me. Thank you very much. And then about 20 years ago, my horse took me to a horsemanship clinic where everything changed overnight, literally.
How
So
long
my
ago?
work, 20 years
Okay.
nearly. Yeah, nearly 20 years. And that was my previous horse. And literally overnight, over that weekend, everything changed. My whole outlook on everything. I describe it as a spiritual experience, as a way of explaining it. But it was like my brain got turned around. I don't know what, but that was the turning point. So it led me down a path into healing modalities. And the only reason I went down there was because I read in a book which fell open on a page in a bookshop, describing what some people experience when they have a Reiki attunement. And it basically was an exact description of what I'd experienced at the horse clinic. And I just wanted more. Complete self-interest. That was it. But I did the 3 levels. I really enjoyed Reiki, but I kept searching and I did more modalities. So I've ended up now with my own work, which is the sum of all my parts. I'm a farmer's wife, I'm a mother, I'm now a grandmother. Plus I've done all of the healing modalities. I've studied non-stop practically for since that clinic, studying consciousness and healing and psychic ability, you name it, just information. And I've got to this point now where it's sort of distilled itself into what I call the point of balance. Because my belief is that when every system, from a single cell to multi-complex us, whales, whatever, the innate want of the system is to be in balance, because that's the easy place. That's where everything works, and at every level. So we're talking physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. So my work is to try and help people, horses and other animals, find that point of balance, because in that point of balance, reminding them where it is, that's how they step back into health. And so I wish I had a scientific explanation. My little brain would really like a scientific explanation, but there isn't one. So I have to go with that. I work distance. I know when I first started doing energy work, when somebody said to me, oh, you'll be, you can do distance, it was like, no, brain can't cope with that, just don't. But it's turned out that the majority of my work is distance. I work with horses and people all over the world, sort of Australia. I'm in Wales in the UK. And so I love this work because it's so simple and it can be so powerful. I can't guarantee anything because it has to be appropriate for the horse or the person or whoever I'm working with. But horses are such a joy to work with because they're in that moment. They don't judge you. They don't think, this cannot work. I've read the science book.
Right.
They just go, oh, that feels really cool. And some of the stuff, again, the universe has brought me these beautiful horses that they've done some amazing stuff, and it's nothing to do with me. I'm the catalyst, the facilitator. I don't sort of direct what needs to happen. They know I don't. That's why I prefer not to know anything.
I have to jump in there though. A lot of people who do this work and are healers will say it's not to do with me. They know what they need. They're the ones that direct. But I need to take exception to that because if we keep it really, really simple, why is it you on the phone and not someone else?
I understand that. The answer I give to that is, from my perspective, anybody can do this, okay? And I know there was one modality that I worked with. They taught 4-year-olds and they picked it up like that and they ran with it because there's nothing there. But so I agree that technically anyone with working 10 fingers that work could become a concert pianist.
Yes.
Many don't.
No.
So I do believe it's my calling, it's my path to do this, and I obviously have an aptitude for it. It's something that excites me and I grasp. But at the same time, what I think I'm trying to say is that I can't make anything heal. I can be the clear facilitator, the clear satellite, whatever you want to call it, but I can't make anything happen.
Yeah.
So for me, that's fine. I'm the clear conduit.
Yeah.
But then I have to leave it open.
Yeah. Thank you for articulating that, because it is, it's vital, especially going forward in creating new space for humanity and for humanity to live in, and I think the scientific word is homeostasis.
Yeah.
Within themselves and in harmony with life. We have to include ourselves in that. And there's a difference between, just a humility of saying, I'm happy to help, and an egoic, just not malicious, but an underhanded egoic approach that says, no, it's just not me. I'm nothing. The energy is everything. And I take exception to that because individuals are not nothing. Your uniqueness is the one that brought you right to where you are, because you are the window, the conduit that can see what wants to be seen so that it can move and change in that horse's body, in the psyche, in the energetic field. And it can be a really scary place to go for a lot of people to welcome forward their own uniqueness, the feeling of their own uniqueness, the experience of it, without judging it, because we learn so much to put ourselves down before
Yeah.
somebody else can.
Yeah, that's the attack is the best form of defense. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think again, what you're bringing into that is to be authentic to yourself. You know, the authenticity of you. Whatever you do, if you do it from your heart in the best possible way, you're being the authentic you.
Mm.
You're not hiding part of you, or you're not pretending to be somebody else. I am me. It's taken me a long time to sort of be able to step forward and go, I do this weird stuff, this woo-woo stuff, okay? And I know the world is getting more and more open to it day by day. It expands, and you know,
Yeah.
you can see more people interested in it. But there was a long time when it was, unless I've got a scientific explanation for this, I really have got to keep this under wraps, because it's just not. But I have stepped into it. This is me. Take it or leave it. You know.
Right.
Yes, I do this stuff. So yeah,
Yeah.
I really get what you're saying there.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just, when humans stop excluding themselves from the love that is life, then we can actually have a greater effect through our heart, through the animals we touch. And we can hear the animals that much more clearly, because like horses are not asking us to make ourselves less than. You know, they're not saying, oh, you piddly humans, we got this long ago. It's still the ego, it's still the human ego projecting
Yeah.
onto the horses, right? So I would love to hear you talk about, you know, there's all of the equine assisted paradigms are getting bigger, 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 bigger. Whether it's, you know, working with people in prison, working with disabled people. Personally, I'd love to create a center working with anybody who shows up with no label, you know, whether they're, you know, abled or disabled or whatever. If your heart calls you there, let's go, you know.
Yeah.
But can you share your insights about why that has developed so strongly over the last 20, 30 years? And do you look at how that might grow, and how the connection with horses might continue to benefit humanity as people continue to wake up?
Yeah, I mean, I've got no personal experience using the horses as therapy personally, but the way I see it is that horses are always congruent. They're present. They're in the moment. And so anybody who comes to them with, I'm going to call it baggage, whatever, you know, emotional, psychological, whatever, they sense that straight away. And so I think most people who own a horse or have been around horses know that if they walk into a paddock or go to ride their horse, and on the outside they're going, yay, Dobbin, yay, this is a lovely day, and inside they're going, oh God, I've got this and that, that horse will start reacting, because it knows we aren't congruent. So I think the horse's place becomes so important, um, because they're so present. They've got no agenda. They don't need to prove anything to us. They are just there. They are, and you know, it's been said, they are our mirror, and that is true. That they, if you come to them with a certain energy that's not comfortable, they'll express it. At the same time, if you come to them with an energy where they, I don't want to anthropomorphize here, but if you know, somebody goes to them upset, lonely, whatever emotion you want to put there, but not an angry emotion, the horses can feel that. And again, not every horse will respond in the same way, because they all come from their different background as well.
Yeah, they're
And
all
that
unique.
will exactly, that will affect the way that they react or interact with the human, with the person. But I think for me, their power is their presence. And I say that in every sense of the word, their physical presence,
Right.
as well as their emotional presence, their energetic presence. You know, I'm very much on the energy love, energy, and energy and connection are about my two favorite words in that respect, because it is all about, well, there is no barrier between us and them. If you boil it down, there's nothing. We're just vibrating energy, and they vibrated a different energy to us. Otherwise, we could put our hands in them and things like that. So we're always connected, and it's that connection they pick up and they can work with if we allow it, and if the person can be still and see. And that's, again, no judgment on them. I mean, as I said, I've not worked within the actual industry, within the equine facilitated world in that respect, but I've been around horses enough to know their power and how much they can do for us.
Yeah.
And that's not taking from them. From my perspective, it's always a matter of a joint conversation, that it's not, I don't expect you to heal me in that respect, or you to heal somebody else. It's, may we share, may we be in the same space, may we just let this flow between us, and then you can see the effect.
I love it. And it just circles right back to self-awareness, really. A human willing to be aware of themselves can have a pretty gentle time of it if they put themselves in the presence of horses and are willing to be aware of themselves. I mean, there's a profound simplicity to it. Presence is really, really simple. And I think it's so simple that people's minds try to complicate it, because that's what we were taught. We were all taught that science is the way. And I love science, don't get me wrong. Science has helped me noodle my way through a whole lot of stuff about this world, right? But it was always the presence, like you're saying, exactly like you're saying, it was the presence of the animals themselves that produced the feeling in my body that never wavered. For me, it was the feeling of home, the feeling of true. And I'm deliberately not saying the word truth. It's not the feeling of truth. It was the feeling of true. Like if I follow that feeling, it takes me more into things that are true. And then I can keep going. And
that's such an important distinction.
Yeah.
The true and the truth.
Yeah, because the truth is like an achievement. Like, I got it. I'm the master of everything now. I know the truth.
It's definitive.
Look at me.
Right?
Yeah. But if you're just tuning yourself and looking for the feeling, not a definition, but the feeling of true. Aha, true. Okay, this is what I feel. The responses around me match what I feel. We're going in that direction. It's true. And this is how horses are when they're given the opportunity to be natural. They're feeling their way through the world, and they're highly social creatures. Like, their sense of safety comes from relationships with those around them, because everybody's interested in the same thing, which is clarity, true, and wellness, homeostasis. When you have a group of social creatures that are all making a priority of the same thing, which could be wellness and homeostasis, then everybody's got your back, and you know it because you can feel it.
And I think that's an important thing as well, that shared energy. So in this day and age we're in at the moment, people are feeling very frustrated and sad and all of these things, and
blissfully understated, but yes, please go ahead.
Yes. I know. I don't want to dwell on the negative too much, but I sort of did a little post a while ago, and it was about totally understanding the situation, but putting out gratitude and love. Because what's the difference? I always have a real difficulty when, and I understand there are people who have anxiety and depression, that there are clinical signs and everything. But if you're a sort of a person just toddling along through your life, and you have a choice, that you are able to make the choice between, oh, it's such a hard life, and isn't it a lovely day? I can't see why not to go to the positive, because on so many levels it affects your whole biochemistry. It raises that, it raises your immune system, apart from the fact the energy we put out. And you know what you were saying then, it's the energy we project that can affect the next person, can affect the community. So all of those horses who are sitting in the moment in wellness, looking for that homeostasis, they support each other in that thing because that energy is resonating between them. And that's where humans can do it between themselves without the horse. We've all walked into a room and gone, ooh, not too sure about this place. And that's just us picking up that energy. So yeah, I think sitting in wellness, sitting in gratitude, sitting in love costs nothing. It's totally easy to do, and the effects can be amazing.
Yeah. And it takes experience. I mean, I just have to acknowledge it, like you were saying, it's been a long road that you've been playing with this stuff and finding yourself and welcoming yourself, accepting yourself, embodying all of this. And you know, me too, my journey started in infancy. And so I think it's important to acknowledge, on one hand, it takes time, but only because we measure our world according to time. I had this awesome experience like the last couple of days.
Yeah.
Where I was doing all my own work and doing my best to see where my psyche is at, what I still bring up, you know, what I'm still a little addicted to, stuff like that. And I had the most wonderful experience of recognizing a total absence of time, like recognizing that when I was 13 and 14, all of these really difficult things happened. And I made decisions back then that said, that's it. I am never, well, very literally when I was 16, I decided I'm never going to create again because it wasn't good for me back then. I felt very persecuted for being light and thinking life was beautiful, right?
Yeah, okay.
And in the self-defense, I made a decision and stuck it in my subconscious that said, that's it. I'm not creating. I'm too mad at you people. I'm too mad at humanity, right? I was really mad at humanity, and I was pissed off that I was one of them.
Yeah. Didn't want to be bunched together with that lot, no.
Oh no, it was horrible. And so the last few days I've been like revisiting all of that and recognizing, like, it's hard to put into words, right? But the continuity of that happened then, and here I am today, decades later, and I can address it today as if it were, I can still feel it as if it were happening. And you can just sort of collapse and bring those two things, you know, today's awareness and 16-year-old memory awareness. You can bring them to the same spot and make a new choice, make a new decision, have a new awareness about why it happened and where it came from and what was the hurt. And it's not hurting anymore, and we can do it differently now. And it's a natural innate ability within us when we're willing to feel, when we're willing to acknowledge what we actually feel, rather than judging that I should be over this by now. Right? People would find me to be much more professional if I didn't have any issues, stuff like that. When really the truth of it is, this has been my experience. Look at the tools we have now. Let's actually use them. And create the space for something new. You know?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I've found myself now when I'm going to call it an issue, an emotion or something kicks up, immediately I look back, only because I know it's rooted somewhere back there. That there, you know, I mean, you know this better than anyone, that we bring forward a pattern of what we learnt then, which was appropriate for the 5-year-old, for the 7-year-old. and we just run that pattern. So what you're saying there, where you can bring that forward now and go, okay, that's what was happening then. I so understand that all of these incidents through my life, all this timeline, that's why. And I'm in this position now to go, totally okay. That was fine. You're quite within your rights to do that. There's no problem. Just don't need to do it anymore. So the same sort of thing. And I understand you are collapsing your timeline. You're bringing that point to this point. And so you're healing your past. You're getting rid of all of that angst. And I know they say you can heal previous generations because you're getting rid of that energy that you'll bring forward with you. You're just healing it backwards, if you like.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing about stepping out of time, and like putting this idea of stepping out of time right next to this this thing we know and call presence, right? And the thing of the present moment, where animals undisturbed are 100% of the time, simply because they aren't creating thoughts that take them, on a tangent, right? But this is, I think, this is one of the gifts, one of the greatest offerings of animals and nature is the existence of a harmony and a natural homeostasis simply because it exists. Like there's not, like you said, there's nothing to prove, there's nothing to earn. It's just, this is how it looks when it's undisturbed by a suggestion that it should be better for this or that, or for me, or because I want more profit, or hard to not go on to tangents on that one. But I think this creating, I mean, a lot of why I wanted to have these conversations and share these conversations is to give people, plant seeds and give people food for thought about, we do have opportunities to create going forward from here. Who am I really? And what would I like to create going from here? And where would I create it from? Do I want to create it from saying, this guy's bad and this guy's good, so I'm going to go out with a whole new sword and shield and get in another fight for this guy or against that guy? Or do we want to just say, nature's onto something here. How can I include myself in that?
Yeah. I think you're such a good point that society, modern society, can't think of the wording, but we separate ourselves. We are always above, controlling. And I always say, and I've said for so long, the most evolved people on this planet are the Aboriginal tribes, because they work within harmony within their environment. They're adapted to. They know not to take too much. They know how they can live in environments like deserts and the cold and things like that, because they've just adapted to it and they accept what's there. They don't need, and I don't know whether what we're going through at the moment, everyone's talking about what's going to happen. Is it going to change people's mindset? I do hope that this shows people a way forward where we don't need so many things, that we can, and we fit in to society in a better way, and society fits into the world in a better way. It's a big project, a big statement, but I think if we all act individually, and it's not a matter of, okay, I'm going to go and live under a tree and eat grubs or anything like that. No, as you said, we know who we are. We have our authenticity. We have our knowing ourselves, and we all have this place in this world with amazing talents to bring forward. But can we do it together instead of fighting against each other? I think that's the thing.
Yeah, and there's another point too, that people will say, and again, people have said to me over and over, it's emblazoned in my head, okay, Carrie, that's really great, but you're not going to get everybody to think that way, right? So, I mean, it begs the question, do we need everybody to think the way and talk the way you and I are right
Uh,
now.
I think we just need a critical mass because, and I know you're familiar with the work of HeartMath,
Yeah,
who have the sensors, the Global Coherence Initiative, with the sensors around the world, which show a change to an ordered pattern when there's massive emotion within the world.
right.
That's your, for the naysayers, there you are. You have a massive emotional shift within the world, and it affects what goes on in the environment, in the atmosphere, in the electromagnetic fields. So my way of thinking is you don't need to go and preach at people. Change yourself. That's all you need to do. And the more people that can make that little bit of a shift into a different mindset of love and gratitude. And it's not, people go, oh, it's hippy dippy shit. It's not. You can work in your everyday world, be it finance or doctors in the shop, and still step into that gratitude and love, and that projects onto the next person. You make that person's world that little bit better that moment,
And it
and
changes
then they
everything
exactly
outside space and time.
exactly
Yeah.
exactly. So for me, I totally get it. You're not going to convince everyone, but when you get the mass of people shifting into that mindset, into that energy, that's when
Yeah.
big changes happen.
Yeah, and there's something to be said for purity of it too. When people are absolutely truly willing to embody that harmony, to know themselves truly at the highest frequencies that they can achieve, and there's a commitment to that. That it speaks to a purity that has a volume to it. It has
Mm.
a resonance to it, as opposed, just by way of contrast, to say somebody who's got one foot in and one foot out, and who says, well, I'll play with gratitude as long as I'm happy with my world, but if
Yeah,
the
yeah,
temperature gets too
yeah,
hot, then I'm out,
yeah, yeah,
or if my boss yells at me, I'm yelling back, or whatever, reserving the right to be in conflict. That's cool. Moments of actual shift in frequency change everything.
yeah,
But the purity and the consistency and the willingness to bring to walk with awareness, with that harmony as a priority, that speaks to a purity that um, vibrates out, and the people who are doing that find each other. it
yeah,
it just happens. People will say, oh, there's so few people doing it. Yeah, but those few people find each other, so that
yeah,
you're not alone. And I mean, I'm totally speaking from experience. I spent the first 30 years or more of my life going, I can't be the only one, I can't possibly be the only one, it makes no
yeah,
sense that I would be the only one. And I met some people that taught me a little bit and opened my eyes here, and gave me vocabulary and taught me, got me started, but I still wasn't feeling the purity
mm-hmm,
until I did, and
yeah,
then boom, all sorts of doors open. And for a lot of people, I think animals can be a doorway to that, because it's really scary for a lot of people. And
yeah,
that's the point for me of having the conversations about the animals, because so many people will open their hearts in the presence of animals, but not humans. So let's
yeah.
honor that too, right?
Oh, absolutely. And I think that's such a beautiful thing because it's the practice in every sense of the word that when they're with their animal, with their dog or the cat or the horse, they can be themselves. And
Right.
I've always said, I'm so lucky, honored, grateful. I have got now so many people I can be myself with. It's just what you're saying. I couldn't be the only one. I don't think I ever sort of really went through that phase, but I just knew that I had to keep a cap on what I said.
Mm.
I couldn't truly be me because I was, and part of it was fear. They're just like, go, yeah, right, ta-da. But also, I couldn't go there. But now, yourself included, that I've got this wonderful array of people. And like you said, they appear. They just appear out of nowhere. It's, oh, you're another one. Oh, there's another one. Oh, you know that one as well. Oh, this is amazing, and the group just gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
Right.
But going back to your point with the animals, totally, because they feel safe in the presence of the animal. They don't feel they're going to be judged by the animal. The animal itself is radiating out that beautiful love, presence, here, now, nothing else. No, as you said, no tangent, no agenda. And so you pick up on that, resonate with that. And that is the place where you can get used to being in it. And then the next step is stepping outside the front door.
Right. So I want to ask you to talk a little bit, please, about, you're a farmer's wife, you have sheep. And so how, with this level of clarity and awareness about animal sentience and who they are, how can you be a farmer? Like, what is your relationship
with the animals? It's a really good question, because I started farming, we've been married, 35 years. So it was before the shift, if you like, the awakening. I've always had an affinity to animals. I mean, I wanted to be a vet. That was sort of my goal, and didn't quite get the grades, so there we go. But the way I look at with the animals is gratitude, first and foremost, is respect and gratitude. So for me, this is my mindset, and I totally understand that people out there who wouldn't accept it, and I've got no problem with that at all. Everybody has got their right to their own way of looking at it. But as a livestock farmer, those animals are treated with respect and gratitude when they're with us. They give up their lives so we live. Okay? I know there are other ways of doing it, but that is the way we've chosen. And in so doing, we honor them in the sense that every load of lambs that goes off, I say thank you to them. Are you going to make me? I get emotional, because it's such a profound communication connection with them, because I realize what they give, but I just want them to know how grateful I am to them, because it's been a generation thing. We honor the land, that we don't own the land, it passes through, it's passing to the next generation now. But the beauty of the farming life in that respect is they know the land, they know every little bit about it, and they know the animals. I mean, you get to the state you can see a sheep walk across and go, there's something wrong with that one. You just know, you get a feel. And so, yeah, I mean, we hate people, I think farmers have got no feelings or whatever, but we used to have suckler cows as well. We finished with them. The kids have taken over just on sheep at the moment, but they would be with us sometimes for 14, 15 years. And they'd have a calf every year, and the calf would stay with their mum and then be weaned and then grow on and either go to another farmer for breeding, or it would go for meat, and we would eat that meat. And we would go to the slaughterhouses. I've been to slaughterhouses. I've seen what's happened. I'm not going to be detached from it. I understand. It's part of the process. But that's my way of looking at it. And I know I'm so grateful that my husband is such a good farmer. He's one who looks after his animals. And I know there are bad farmers out there, absolutely. But that's the way I look at it. It's not the hunter, going out and getting going out hunting one animal like that. But for me, it's the same sort of principle, in that I understand why they are here. I understand what they give, and I give gratitude for that, because of what they give up, we live, and we can carry on, and we eat them. I know any vegans out there are probably going to shoot me, but there's been times especially early on, we have like a old-fashioned range with a cooler oven at the bottom and a hot oven, and there's been something cooking up there, and there's been one being warmed underneath, being brought back to life, and people look at you and go, well, how can you do that? But that's the cycle of life for us, the way that we work. And I think it's a really good question. I'm glad you've asked it. It's an awkward question at many times, but no, I've got no worries about what I do, in the sense that as long as you do it, as I said, with integrity and authenticity, and you know what you are doing and you step into it at every level, then you feel it, you know it, and that's the way it works.
Thank you so much. Thank
You're
you
welcome.
for talking through that, because yeah, it is, you know, a tender, obviously a tender topic for everybody. And I think just because people are trying to figure out who am I in relationship to the rest of life, you know, and do I deserve to be alive? You know, should I even be killing plants to live? But those questions again exclude oneself from the harmony of all of life. You know, it's going back again, not malicious, but it's going back into the ego, where the ego is trying to figure out who's more important than who, what's worth what. And it's just a very different way of going than coming to your heart and recognizing, you know, the lives of these lambs individually and as a whole are offering a gift for the sustenance of our family and beyond. Can I actually receive that love and that gift with understanding that this is how we function? Just, I love how you said it, you know, this is how we function. This is what we've built. This is what our family does. And to have the grace to receive the gift that these animals are sharing simply by existing, I think is a beautiful way to walk in grace and reverence, and to mutually honor the lambs and also honor oneself, you know.
No, thank you. No, I've thought about it long and hard, you know, for many years, thinking, you know, what is it? What is the relationship? What is and that's the path. That's how I see it. And yes, there are times when the sheep sees the gate open but runs into the fence instead of going through the gate. You do question your sanity and the sanity of the sheep, but you know, that's all part of life's rich pattern with sheep.
We love drama, so we keep sheep, right?
Exactly. No, it's they bring such joy as well. You know, there's nothing like seeing lambs, you know, newborns running around the place and playing. And my daughter and I, you know, we name some of them, and people will think, oh my God. And then we rejoice when they die a natural death on the farm, you know, that you think, good on you, you know, you've done it, well done, you know, because you hate seeing them going off. You know, it's part of the process, but it's not to say it doesn't affect you. I mean, goodness knows. But you just have to accept, from our point of view, where we are, that's what happens. But yeah, they bring such joy, they bring such happiness as well. The things that go on, I mean, the stories. I found out my kids, my daughter used to love to ride the cows. Okay, she'd just jump on the back and they just podder off, and so she knew which ones were all right to ride. And in the winter they're in a big shed, and my son, who was younger than her, went in the shed and he jumped on one that was not any good to ride. So then it was a rodeo act, apparently, and he ended up in the shed. I never knew anything about this. I never knew a thing. I mean, it's just, I'm so grateful that they can grow up in this environment. You know, that's the other side of it as well, is they know about life and death. They know about birth. They know, you know, all of the stages of life, and they're out in nature. They see the interactions, they understand what the weather does, they know the whole cycle of life. There's so many things to be grateful in that respect as well.
Thank you so much. So we're coming close to an hour. I want to ask you, is there anything that you would like to say or share or ask before we wrap up?
I really believe we can, as a society, but on the individual, as each individual, we can make a shift. We can make a change. I totally believe it's possible, and it doesn't take much for it to happen. I think, as you said about opening up, realizing who you are and stepping into that space, and then just radiating that out, that energy out of love and gratitude of breathing deep and being present, I feel we can make the change for the better.
I love that. And I love to give to people too, like, hey, don't take my word for it, right? Go try. Actually try. Actually experience
Go
yourself.
do it. Yeah.
And really make a commitment just to yourself that you're actually going to give yourself the experience of honoring yourself, taking those breaths, actually feeling grateful for stuff, for a half a day or a day. Like, don't take our word for it, just go
try
actually
it for yourself.
try it out.
Yeah.
And that's really, I think, one of the greatest ways that we can empower people is share the awareness, share the gifts, share the presence, and then set people free. You're going to go do what you're going to do, and you're going to be loved 100% the whole way. And when you stop choosing to go against yourself, you're right back in your heart. And it's just how it works.
Yes. Yeah, as you said, don't take our word for it, go do it.
Yeah, exactly. Prove me wrong if you can.
Yes. That's the challenge. Go prove me wrong. Yeah. I love it.
Kathy, thank you so much. This is such a wonderful
thank you.
Yeah, you're brilliant. I always love playing with you. So thank you for showing up.
Oh, thank you for asking me. It's been such a joy.
We'll talk to you very soon.
Okay, take care.
Don't
I look at you with an open heart and see who you really are. No need to find the words for this faith and grace, but don't doubt it, trust the smile on my face. You come to me as a kindred soul who's never been alone. Through dark, uncertain days when you were asking why, I have been the light on the other side. There's a way to live this life, to stop doing and start being, and understand the meaning of the wonder all around. With your spirit in the air and your feet on the ground, the smallest step